What you have to understand is this. In the midst of a storm, you do have the ability to cause your situation to come to an end. You have the ability to allow your situation to stop. You even have the ability to make it discontinue. But you have to know what you have in order to make it work. See, we got a whole bunch of saved folk that talks a good game. But when it comes to putting it to work, they don't know what to do. Now watch this now. You notice in the text, Jesus never spoke to the storm to cease. He never did. He never said, y'all be quiet, leave these folk alone. He never said none of that. He never spoke to the storm to cease. That's because the storm was connected to the disciples' lesson. It was connected to your lesson. Your storm, the things you've gone through, is connected to the lesson. The problem is, the reason why we have to keep going through it is because we failed the lesson the first time. Now remember, this was directly after the feeding of the 5,000. The disciples didn't get the lesson the first time. So here come God with another one. When you fail the lesson, just know there's another one coming. Watch this now. The storm, Kiki, the things you have to endure, your storm is never meant to kill you. It's never meant to kill you. The storm, the lesson, is meant to bless you. And we can't see that because of the severity of the storm. The pain that's attached to the storm. The lack that is attached to the storm. We pay more attention to those things than we do the lesson. There is no lesson if you can't get your eyes off of the pain. You will fail every time. There is an inner strength there that you have. That even in the midst of adversity and rejection, something on the inside of you says, I don't remember that. I'm moving forward. You don't think I know we have a hard time with that? We have quit before we go forward. Yes, we will. We have quit before we go forward because of the severity of the storm. And what we do, we look at the condition of the storm more than we listen to God in the storm. And God is trying to show us something through his eye, not through the eyes of the disciples. Because God was the one teaching the lesson, not the disciples. So the reason why he came out walking on the water, it was a lesson. And I'm going to show it to you this minute. Now watch this now. As people of God, we have to go through the storm, watch this, y'all, not just to get what we need, but to get what's yours. Oh, Lord have mercy. I said something today. We have seen a mansion before, but we ain't seen no mansion like God said that I had before. Turn to Miss Ned, go to Romans chapter 8. I'll show you something. Romans chapter 8, Miss Ned, verse 7. Romans 8. I'll show you something. Before we move forward. Romans 8:17. Can you read it? watch this here. Now, so in other words, so in other words, so in other words, there's my Jesus. While they pray, while they think they're going to die, there's my Jesus. The thing, the condition that caused this miracle on them was the same condition that Jesus walked. So had not Jesus walked. Now, if the disciples first lady was in joy with Christ, they would have saw him walking on the condition that it was there. Okay. But they were so in tune to the fear of the condition that they did not see what Jesus was doing. See, at the end of the day, what you got to understand that firstly, God said that I wasn't just an heir. He said I was joint heirs with Jesus or with Christ. Now watch this. Through his suffering. Suffering is another word that means story. What's mine here is attached to a story. Watch this. If I go after what God said is mine, then all of my needs are already met. You with me? So if I'm joint heir, that means that everything that my God possessed is a part of mine. Okay? Now, my question is, why do we keep praying to God for money when you are a joint heir to money? You have to go after what God said is yours. See, my thing is with surface-minded saints is this. It is what God said it is. Why do we make it so hard to obtain? Why? Go after what's yours. But here is the key. Here is the key. What God said is yours. Are you willing to go get it? Or walk through it? That's the key right there. Watch this. Watch this. What God has for you, T, carries so much weight that even in the midst of your storm, it's unmovable. Watch this here. Watch this. Remember, I told y'all that my wallet and my checkbook was in the storm, but it was unmovable. Are y'all with me? And I kept asking God, why is that? God, you're right. Why is my wallet? He said, because what I have for you carries so much weight. Lord have mercy. That even in the midst of your storm, it's unmovable. Oh, Lord have mercy. Now watch this. This was great. Do you not know the promises of God? The vision and everything that God told you is tied into a storm. Now watch this. God said first, it ain't going nowhere. Because the weight that it carries is attached to what I said is yours. Oh, Lord. And you have to understand that the storm is a storm that is conditioned. The reason why it's conditioned is it's brought on by Him. First Lady, you have to be able to have something on the inside of you that can penetrate the storm to get what God said is yours. And the problem with the saints of God, they don't believe that they have what it takes to penetrate the storm to retrieve what God said was already theirs. In this text, the word storm is a word, First Lady, that means a sudden, strong attack on a fortified place. It's a sudden, strong attack on a fortified place. Now, the reason why I love this definition is because the disciples thought that they were in a place that was a fortified place because of who they were walking with. And sometimes we can get so super spiritual that we believe What makes you different from the 12 disciples? Nothing. I don't care how close you is to God. If you suffer with him, then you are reigned with him. So in other words, to get to know Jesus means you're gonna have to suffer some things. You're gonna have to go through some storms. Abraham encountered a storm when God spoke to him and said, "Take your son and sacrifice your son." That was a storm. As he was preparing to sacrifice first, lady, as he laid his son up on the altar, when he drew back the knife to sacrifice his son, something rung in his ear. Oh, something rung in Abraham's ear, and it was, is that not what he said when he called the servant at the bottom of the hill? In other words, Abraham already knew that God would prepare a sacrifice even in the midst of his storm, even in the midst of almost killing his son. The Bible said that an angel of the Lord came, stood, and said, "Abraham, Abraham, don't kill him." Oh, Lord have mercy. Y'all going to have to get this. The storm that teaches. It ain't nothing that you've gone through today there that God was trying to show you something about it. We just did not have enough God system to hear instructions from God in order to retrieve what's yours. You see, and here's what eats me up. Everybody figure that in the midst of the storm, when God have you to retrieve what's yours, we always look at riches. Everybody don't need money. Sometimes what God has to send you through to retrieve, sometimes it's something called peace. Sometimes it's something called faith. Sometimes it's something called wisdom. Sometimes it's something called knowledge. It ain't always about riches, even though God has promised you that. But you don't have to go after riches, when you are joint heirs. Right. All you got to do is walk. All you got to do is believe. Watch this. Most of God's teachings to mankind is done through a storm. Isn't that crazy? Most of our teaching, when it comes to God, is being taught through a situation. Most of what God is trying to show us in Him is being taught through trial, and we can't escape. We so busy worrying about the flesh side than we are God's side. And here's the crazy thing. A lot of the teachings God is trying to show you. We always think that when I'm going through God is showing me somebody else. You know why that person going through what I'm going through? He's trying to show you this. God seen the story, and He was showcasing to the disciples their failures. He was showing the disciples their weaknesses. Some more. That's your Bible. Job 38. Most of what God is trying to teach us is done through a story. Job 38. And I just need him to read the first part. I'm sure it's got it? Read it, please. Stop right there. Then the Lord answered Job out. Majority of what God is trying to say is done through a storm. Something you had to endure. You cannot pay so much attention, First Lady, based on the pain, you quit paying attention to all that. Start asking yourself a question. God, what's this? What's this about? What are you trying to show me? God, I know you're talking to me because I feel this pain. This hurt. What are you trying to show me? Why do I feel the way I feel? What are you trying to say to me? In the midst of your storm, it hurts. That's how God speaks to us. He's trying to get your attention. Your storm that comes against you, your storm that comes suddenly and attacks you, is God's way of trying to speak to you. The devil can't pay that price. You forfeit the lesson when you pay more attention to what the flesh is feeling. And that's why I used to hear people say this all the time. I know because I done say it too. God, why do it seem like I'm going through the same thing? Oh. And I said that so many times. Why did God say, because you didn't learn the lesson the first time. Learn the Lord have mercy. Learn the lesson now. Learn the lesson now. Learn it now. God is trying to you. He's trying to say something to you. Quit crying before you begin everything that God is trying to say and do to you. I know he took that from you. I know he did. I know he took it from you. What did that mean? I know you lost your job. What did that mean? I know your car got repossessed. I know what that means. You ain't pay your bill. Believe it or not though, but it's a lesson. Even that is a teaching. Don't pay your bills, you can't drive in. It's a lesson that needs to be learned. But God has to do certain things in order to get you to understand what he's trying to say to you. I said this earlier, what God has for you is attached to a storm. And in most cases, it's in the midst of it. I love this part. Jesus walked out there with so much confidence. With so much confidence. He just walking on the thing that have brought fear upon the disciples. The waves was in so much control. Jesus had so much control. I don't care if it was 100-foot wave in the middle of that sea. But when it comes to Jesus, it has to actually flow beneath his foot. He's awesome. He's in control. You have to understand something. That you have control of your situation. But you have to know what you have to control. And I'm going to share something with you. A lot of that is doubt. I guarantee you. The reason why we don't operate in it, because of doubt. Now, doubting who? Doubting him. I promise you, it ain't too much that shakes me up anymore. When stuff come up, isn't it funny? Isn't it funny how now when stuff come up against me, I look for another avenue. I don't get mad. I look for another avenue. And I can say this right here. Me early going through stuff, financially. The Lord began to bless because God gave us another avenue. Sometimes people be a blessing to be a blessing. There was a woman one time in the Bible team whose husband died but owed a debt. There was a prophet that went to her house. She was crying. And back then during the Old Testament time, when there was a debt that could not be paid, how do you pay your debt? Well, they told her if she couldn't pay the debt, she would have had to give up her keys. The prophet went to the house, looked around the house, talked to her while she was crying. Prophet made a statement to her, said these words. He said, what you crying for? Seemed like to me, everything you need is in this house. All right. Then the prophet told him, he said, you see them bottles right there? Fill them bottles up and go sell them so you can pay your debt off. That's what the prophet told her to do. Well, guess what? She didn't have enough bottles. But she didn't allow that to stop her from doing what she needed to do. So the prophet told her, he said, I tell you what you do. You need to go get your son. Tell your son to go door to door and ask him for some bottles. He said, okay. Shoot. That woman produced so much ointment, she couldn't have enough bottles to fill them up. See, let me share something with you. You got to understand. In the midst of your storm, God would give you another avenue to retrieve what He said is yours. Everything you need is within. Everything you need is in the house. God will create another with you. If the old way ain't working, why are you still using it? In the midst of a storm, when things come up against you, you got to be able to look at the situation and say, okay, but that didn't work the last time. Okay, now, okay, I know how to do this. God would give you another way in the midst of your storm to retrieve what God said is yours. Your storm is not meant to kill you, it's meant to teach you. Watch this. Sometimes you have to go in the midst of the storm to retrieve what's yours. Now watch this. Your storm will come, watch this, y'all. Your storm will come subject to you, then cease. Watch this. It will come subject to you, then cease. When it recognizes the power of the one who created it. See? When you recognize within your own self that the Lord said that house is mine. You done talk to the folk, all of a sudden they come back and say, but now you ain't gonna be able to get it. But why? Because of this, and you no, that ain't true, sir. God said that that's my house. I'll tell you what these people need. How people hate to call the word, the name, God in front of a lot of people. God, that eats me up. And that's supposed to be who you are. But you're so afraid of the repercussion of calling his name in the world that you don't even say it. What? You better not come to me. No, God said I can have it. Me first lady went to look at that house. I told the guy right on the spot. He said, no, because I've been looking at this house for a long time. God said this was my house. Really? Really? You can't be afraid to call his name. You can't be afraid to be ashamed of it. If you be ashamed of me before man, I'll be ashamed of you before the Father. Well, I put God on him like a German Shepherd. I put God on him. Sick him. Go get him. I mean it. I call his name every chance I get. Because that's my help. Now watch this, y'all. But your situation, for your storm, have to recognize who's in charge. If you got a weak spirit, your storm will eat you up alive. But if it recognizes God, it'll come subject to you. We always talk about when I pray, the atmosphere must come subject. Well, it may come subject to those that walk in Christ. It may not come subject to you. If you ain't walking in that spirit, it ain't gonna come something to you. It's gonna eat you up alive. You don't even mean that. Why you talking? Can I say something with y'all? Something just popped in my head. You know the other thing that bothers me not to be on the subject is this. People think that because they pay their tithes, now y'all listen to this, that nothing should come against them. I know some folk that pay their tithes and still going through hell. Just because you pay it, that ain't nothing. Well, I pay my tithes now, God. You know I pay my tithes on Sunday. Why this coming up against me? That ain't gonna do with your tithes. That's why. I don't know. That's the please, and even if you're listening, please don't be that weak-minded. It ain't about all that. I pay my tithes too, and I go through hell sometimes. What that got to do with anything? I'm just obedient because that's what God told me I need to do. You become the church. I don't know why they treat me like that. I pay my tithe. What? What that got to do with you? Let me quit talking. What he say? Boy, I ain't never seen nothing like it. Come on, y'all. Come on, we got to get past that. We got to get past that. Because, see, let the truth be known, the situation has to do with you. You're the one going through it. And if your situation seems like it's overtaking you, that's because it does not recognize any authority in you. If your situation is overtaking you, that means that it does not recognize the authority in you. You have to be able to take control of the issue. You can't do it in the flesh. It has to be done through Christ. Jesus walking on the water to the disciples was a prime example of how we need to overcome if we trust in him. Watch this. Johnny, you don't have your Bible. No, son, don't even go there. Shamars, John 14. I'm going to show you something. John 14, read verses 12 and 13. Lord have mercy. Stop right there. Stop right there. You good. You good. See, Johnny, there was a greater lesson here being taught. They failed the first lesson. So when Jesus went to what was his, it had nothing to do with a need. It had to do, First Lady, those are my disciples. He went after what he said was his. When he got there, he said, now I need for you to know something. He said, I need for you to understand the lesson that I was trying to teach you. You cannot allow the storm to dictate to you how you go about getting what I said was yours. He said, and I created it where what I said, Johnny, you could have, it has so much weight that is stable. It's unmovable. I created it where you can go get it. Oh, Lord have mercy. I created it where you can go get it. But you have to go through the storm to retreat. Watch this. I need for you, Kiki, to know something. That I'm getting ready one day soon to go back to the Father. Oh, Lord, I love this boy. He said, and what I've just taught you, that you will be the things that I ever did, because I'm getting ready to go back. So what Jesus just did, he left a deposit. Oh, my God. He left a deposit called himself. The same way he walked on the condition is the same way you're going to walk on your condition. He was showing the disciples that I am leaving a legacy, a promise, and I'm leaving you a gift that when I'm gone, they will marvel at the things that you're getting ready to do. I'm going to give you what it needs to work through, to walk through your storm, to retrieve what I said is all you need. God, Jesus didn't allow the storm to hinder him going after what he considered was his. Watch this, T. Watch this. So he said, greater things you shall do in my name, so that my Father will get the glory. And then I love this second part. He said, see, if you come and you ask, watch this here. This is what you got to understand. This is what you got to understand here. But if you come and ask, I too have to recognize the spirit in which you ask. I too have to recognize it. If I don't recognize that spirit, I can't give you what you ask. Lord have mercy. God is not going to give himself to just anything and anybody. He's not going to do it, especially if the spirit ain't right. Watch this, y'all. The reason why many of us can't go in or through our storm to retrieve what is ours is because of the lack of faith. Okay, God. So the lesson, First Lady, that he was teaching the disciples was, in order to retrieve what is yours out of the storm, it's going to take faith. Watch this, y'all. Write this down. The word retrieve is a word that means to take back. And it also means to recover. Lord have mercy. If you want the fullness of your blessing, Kiki, go get what God said is yours. When you go get what's yours, it fulfills all your needs. Huh. God said to me that the church is mine. The building is mine. The vision is mine. That's what he said. The youth ministry he showed me is mine. The transportation ministry is mine. So he showed me this whole scenario, Kiki. And he said, Chris, that's yours. God spoke that thing so long, I did not know that my storm would be 25 years long. Okay, I didn't know, Johnny, that it was going to take all this for me to retrieve what God said. He said, I said that's yours. So I realized something, that this whole journey was a lesson. It was a lesson of faith. It was a lesson of trust. It was definitely a lesson of obedience. Because that's what it's going to take for you to retrieve what God showed you in your dream. That's what it's going to take, Jay. I see you got this down. You do whatever you have to do to remind yourself the lesson that God is teaching you through your adversity. There was a lesson being taught here. When I went missionary and I had to think about it, I made football my journey. I made football my out. I did. But I was working out, working out. I mean, I was just doing everything. Just supplement, working out 3 things a day. 6 things. Just do it. I want to get it in. Working hard. Whole year. Quit my job. Took my 401k. And that's what me for a year ago. I mean, going after it. Contacts, agents, this, that. Man, I ain't met so many folks in my life. Praying to God. Till one day got to the place. Looked at me and said, I heard a lot about you. We have a job for you. In the middle of the week, God spoke and said, this journey is over. Go home. What? The world? What? But there was a peace about it. And here's the kicker. Here's the kicker. I was so in tune to what I wanted, I neglected to hear what God was saying. You know why? Because I didn't want to. I'm just going to be honest with me. I didn't want to. No, that's what I want to do. It's hard to lay your self vision, your man-made vision aside to do God's vision. Because, see, I don't know how y'all thought about it, but to me, it was starting over. And I didn't like that feeling because of everything that I have invested, everything that I've gone through, the travels, the monies that was being paid to go all over and try for these football teams. But I thank God now because this is what he was calling me to. And I didn't really want to accept at the time. But it was a lesson learned. Hard lesson. A hard lesson. And we went through trying to figure out paying our tithes, but also in a place of almost being homeless. Can I share something? The Bible says obedience is better than sacrifice, right? You pay our tithes, but at the same time without being disobedient. So it cancels out me giving my tithes. My tithes didn't mean nothing to God. He said it's better to be obedient than to give your money. Okay. So we were paying our tithes, operating in ministry, and still behind the 8 ball. And that was because of disobedience. And until I lined up something, right there, until I lined up, things just started clicking. It wasn't until I dropped my vision. It wasn't until I say, okay, God, now I'm sick of this. Now what do you want me to do? I'm tired. He said, okay, that's a good place. Now let's do this my way. Mm-hmm. Watch this, y'all. Let me finish up. Faith in place, faith in its rightful place, protects you and allows you to retrieve what God said is yours. Faith in its rightful place protects you and allows you to retrieve what God said is yours. Miss Ned, I love that right there. Let me tell you why I love that. What faith does, it bypasses the storm. Oh, I love it. Faith does not even see the storm. Okay, watch this. Faith will operate the same way God used Moses to operate to get the children of Israel out of Egypt all the way to the wilderness, on the other side of the wilderness, by separating of the river. To have a clear pathway to what God said was theirs. Okay. That's what faith does. Faith will actually go through the storm and give you a clear pathway to retrieve what God said is yours. It would allow you the opportunity to retrieve in the midst. If you don't believe, you won't be able to endure the storm. That's the reason why a lot of us fail. That's the reason why we sit up in the house crying. That's the reason why when you need some help, your pride won't let you. Y'all ain't gonna say amen. Your storm will teach you how to retrieve what God said is yours. Trust the lesson. Trust the lesson, y'all, from your storm. Trust the lesson. It's not coming, Johnny, to kill you. It's coming to bless you. Trust the storm. Trust the lesson from the storm. You have to, because we've been built to trust God. We've been built to walk in faith. That's how we was built. And God is not looking for anything less than that. Well, God, you know I would, but no, he ain't looking for that. God, I'm just going to trust you. I don't care what it looked like, God, I'm just going to trust you. I don't care what the people said about me. Let me say this. Folk dogged me out, and they thought, Miss Ned, I was stupid. I was crazy, but they dogged me out. Why are you still trying out? You know you ain't good enough to make it. Dog me out. Yes, they did. You hear what I'm about to tell y'all? Dog me out. And for some strange reason, on the inside of me, it was like putting gas on an already burning fire on the inside of me. Some just said, keep moving. You're in a good place for me to showcase who I am. Not just to you, but showcase who I am to you. Oh my goodness. I kept going. Went to this camp. Well, one time God took me away from my family for a whole week. I was in Austin for a whole week. To a pro camp. All week. 3 practices a day. Full contact. Trying to make in the NFL. How many of y'all know all it takes is for one person to see you? Mr. Jason Garrett, daddy saw me. Run over them bow legs. The right somebody. 20 years scout for the Cowboys. I want to know his mama name, kid's name. I want to know where he works. I want to know this. He was just, but he made me feel good. All it takes is one person. But Miss Net, they dogged me up. But how many of you know when God said yes, I don't care what folks say. I sat up in that locker room, and it wasn't pride enough. I just sat down and started. The reason why I wept was because God reminded me of all of the comments that were said. Ask me. All of a sudden, phone started ringing. Be sure, man, that's a blessing, man. We can't wait to see him on TV. Tell Big Chris. Yeah. Even one of my brothers called me and said, Bill, he said, when you make it, all I want is this. I hung the phone up on him. I don't discriminate. I hung the phone up on him. Don't call me. Because see, when I was going through, it wasn't no words of encouragement. When I was going through it, everybody said I wouldn't make it. But God proved them wrong. Don't tell me God won't do it. Sometimes your storm is a lesson for you. And I just thank God that God allowed me in the midst of my storm to teach me a lesson about me. You don't have to comment. You don't have to be mean to them because they was mean to you. He said, do you trust us? Yeah, God. He said, then just keep moving forward. Let me show you something. When God has a plan for you, people. And I didn't discriminate. Did y'all hear what I just said? I said people. And that's including family. It's your worst enemy. You can tell they're your enemy, Miss Faith, because they never believed in you until they saw the evidence of what's getting ready to happen. When that evidence show up, now they're asking you or want to befriend you, or now what they did, baby, you know, mama showed me. Mm-hmm. You'll be the first one they pull on. I'm gonna tell you something. For a little tell you, I was 19 years old when I started trying out in this thing called the NFL. 19. Watch this now. My last trial was when I was 28 years old. It wasn't until I was 28 that the Baltimore Ravens told me we need a center, and I heard you was the man for the job. 9 years later, but I had to go through. You get what I'm telling you? I had to go through that storm in order to retrieve what was mine. God never told us how long the lesson gonna take. He said, I need you to be obedient and learn the lesson. We want this overnight quick success. It ain't gonna happen like that. But if you be steadfast in the midst of your storm and you be obedient and you listen to the voice of God, regardless of what people are saying, I promise you before it's all said and done, you'll retrieve what God said is yours. I promise you that. I promise you that. My needs are fulfilled when I retrieve what God said is mine. My needs are fulfilled when my needs are fulfilled when I retrieve what God said is mine. Trying to give me something, because I need to talk a minute. Let me share something with y'all. This is a different season, and what I don't want, Johnny, give me something more in the worship thing. What I don't want this season is for you to take no, as a reason to not move forward. See, that's what kept you in the place you are today. Somebody told you no, and you look at the word no as a reason to not move forward. But God is saying something totally different. Learn your lesson. Learn the lesson. It's yours, Miss Nick. How's somebody gonna tell you no to what God said is already yours? In this season, y'all, you can't look at your storm the same. It's not coming to kill you. It's not coming to hurt you. It's coming to bless you. And it wasn't until Jesus, the Bible said in verse 32, and when Jesus, the Bible said, when they got to the boat, who was he talking about? Himself and Peter. The Bible said the storm ceased. The Bible never said when Jesus got to the boat, he said when they got to the boat. What am I saying? See, do you not know that the wind did not cease just because of Peter? The wind also ceased because of Peter. Lord have mercy. Because God told Peter, Jesus never told Peter he didn't have any faith. He said, man of little faith. Now, I may be stupid in what I'm about to say, but when they got to the boat, I wonder how they got there. I know Jesus ain't told Peter. Jesus ain't told Peter. They walked back to the boat. That's exactly what happened. Hey, Jesus, you know what? I sure appreciate that. You know, you taught me a valuable lesson. You know what I'm saying? You know what, Jesus? I'm just gonna keep my eyes on you. I ain't going nowhere. They just talking, walk to the boat. The Bible said, then the storm ceased. Watch this, people. When you're obedient to doing what God is saying, when you get to your destination with the promise to retrieve what God says, the storm will cease. You just got to go get it, First Lady. We was talking about something about business. I told First Lady in this season she can't operate the same way. If you want that business, then you do what it takes to grow the business. God, can I share something with you? There is nothing that God's going to give you that's not going to succeed. If God gives you a plan for it has to grow. It has. What you doing? What you doing? Quit taking no for an answer. God said I can have this. And this is what I'm going after. You still. If you do it, God will create the way. If you do it, He'll create the way. It was something Candace said. Candace had a wonderful conversation. Thank you. Candace had a wonderful conversation with a great man and they asked her to say, she said, I want to own my own net. I want to be free today. Oh, they said, wow. And looked at it and said, and we know you can do it. But here's the kicker. Here's the thing. I know in her statement, she was telling the truth. See, some folk just talk, but there's some folk, you know when they open up their mouth, they mean what they say. She mean what she said. And because she believed it so strongly, God is working it out already. See, it just don't happen, Miss Net, when it comes to pass. It happens when you believe. You may not see the evidence of it right now. It happens when you believe it. When you believe it, God begins the process of bringing it to pass when you believe it. I believe the vision. God been working it out. Watch, see what I'm telling you. He's working it out because I believed it a long time ago. What some of you may have to do is go back and revisit what God said was yours. You have to go back now and revisit, look at it, and be honest with yourself. What made me stop? What about this storm that was so hard that I did not complete the task that was given me? Why did I stop? Why? I used to think of ways to make money. I try to be an inventor in my head. I don't know how that's gonna work, but it's all good. It's something. Oh, you be shocked. You be shocked. I gotta deal with you. I got a buddy right now who's an inventor. But I also told him something. Until you do right by God, it ain't gonna come to pass. I mean, God ain't playing in the season. Remember, the word of God, one of the words of God is, if He's speaking, it's definitely. It ain't going nowhere. Get it in your heart and your mind. Quit taking no for an answer. You letting your situations and your circumstances put you in a place of depression. Depression is failure. Depression is failure. The enemy has you right where he wants you. You thinking you can't do it because you're looking at everybody else. And you try to measure up to the world system, and God ain't never told you to do that. He said, I said you'll do it. That devil is a lie. Quit letting depression keep you from your blessing. When are you going to fight it? Let that devil beat you day in, day out. telling you this. You can't do this. You look like this. You don't even look the part. You can't do this because you don't sound like so and so. So I said, well, to show you, continue, you will continue, you will continue, and you will continue to take that step until you have it. Here's what I love about God. The test don't ever come or never look like the same test before. He'll give you another test, and it don't look like nothing, so you can't even cheat. You can't even cheat. This is all new. Yeah, I know. But you can have it. I'm telling you, you can have it. It's yours. Go get it. Better. Depression easy. The Lord showed it to me. Can I tell you something? Come on, people. Get your mind off of that. It always keep you. It always keep you. Ain't nobody caring nothing about what it looked like. But there were days you battle your own self. You watch the TV, and there were times you just get depressed. You say, okay, well, what's up? You know what I'm saying? If he said you can have it, but you have to go back and do his revisit things. God bless me so the other day he said, I'm going to bless you, but it's going to come through things that you need. Oh, we think we big corporations and we think we put all the money it's going to come and bless us. They don't care nothing about you. You expect people just to come to your aid because you can sing. Christian, they ain't coming to your aid. Get that in your spirit. God said, I want you to do it. The reason why you're struggling is because you failed the lesson. I'm trying to show you something about you. I want you to trust in you. I want you to trust in me. Can we make that agreement? Johnny can't go in and rap like Tupac. He can't. He can't go in there and rap like Eazy-E. He can't do that. Because here is the kicker. God gave him the gift, and there was a sound that God is waiting on. He ain't looking at everybody else's sound. He wants yours. Some of you have all these abilities to do things, and you sitting on it because somebody told you. Don't allow your storm to be your worst enemy. It's not here to kill you. It's here to teach you. A storm that teaches. God ain't trying to hurt you. He's trying to bless you. Revisit the vision. Revisit the promise. Revisit the words of encouragement that someone told you. Revisit it and listen to what God is saying. You'll be shocked of how God will look at you and what God will say to you, Bear, about you. He said, let me show you now. Let me tell you what you've done. Mr. Nick, you know how many times I went to bed? He said, you know why I didn't have prison? Because this is what you've done. You can't contaminate God's system. It ain't going to work for you. But the promises of God is yea and amen. The storm is here to teach you. The storm is here to teach you. I will say something, I can say this. She may get mad. I tell Christian all the time. will walk by a room sometimes, a Christian room with a tornado. And I can say this. Well, she never understood that it was part of a lesson. God is trying to teach you something about you. Your mind will be everywhere. It'll create its own atmosphere. But the world always demonstrates you wrong. I'm saying something to keep you. And it blesses me because I'm part of the whole day. I told people something. Laziness is just one part of action. But laziness begins in the mind. When your mind becomes lazy, when your mind becomes lazy, everything about your life is like this. God is trying to elevate you, not keep you where you are. You have to elevate your mind. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. You have to be able to elevate. You don't have to stay where you are. People do that for you. You can't do that to me. You can't do that to me. Because I know what God said about me. I told First Lady I had a habit of every now and then going to work late. My job been good to me for 18 years. And God showed me something. He said, your job been good to you for 18 years. He took care of your family. He said, now, you don't have to point sometimes. You don't have to go you abuse who you are. Everybody know you and you think that's okay for you. He said, no, your boss loves you. He do. He respects who you are. You got a job to do too. I told God, I said, ever since the new year, guess what? I get up 5:45. I was getting up at 6 o'clock. I get up 5:45. I'm at the house by 6:30. I'm at the job no later than 6:50. Because I'm proving to God that I can do it. And I'm willing to do it. Because God, you're right. This job took care of my family for 18 years and was faithful. 18 years, son. God has been faithful to me. 18 years. You mean to tell me, Miss Faith, I can't get to work early? Sometimes you create your own storm. In the midst of God is trying to teach us a lesson. You got to be honest with you. You got to be honest. Go back there. Revisit. You know what I'm saying? Go back and revisit. Hey, get that bucket off your back. The devil is a lie, y'all. One thing I'm gonna tell you as your pastor, I ain't gonna let you you. I tell you, you prove not just to God, prove to the devil. You don't have it. You don't have it. And I think I'm free from that bond. Been free. And I'm going to fulfill it. The storm that teaches. The storm that teaches. Preaching the storm that teaches. God has been teaching us the whole time. He walked the walk into the disciples. They were so busy looking at everything else. But they wasn't focused on what Jesus was doing. The thing that brought them fear was the things that Jesus controlled. You got it. You got it. This is our season. This is our season. This is our season. Don't look at your storm the same way. It's a blessing. Get in this way. Being in your own place is a blessing. But it was a lesson. So y'all listen. In this season, And you are joint heir. You are joint heir because of the suffering. The Bible says that trials and tribulation shall be among them always. So you will never be able to escape even with your money is not the answer. Christ is the answer. So at the end of the day, he got you. He made it where you can retrieve what is yours. Go after it. Do your research. Do your research. Don't step out there. You haven't done your research. I came up with a guy. Give me 2 seconds. God, said I talk to him. He been in the NFL 7 years. And this and that, he want to sit down and have a conversation. He's a pastor out of Shreveport. And he wants to start a program that works with college athletes to train them. But he also wants to bring together a football team that would play different football teams around the country. They got a 12-game schedule coming up. Get ready to start the season. He wants to sit on the pastors. He wanted to know whether or not how to consider partnering up and doing this. But what was so awesome, he just purchased a junior college in Shreveport that has dormitories, cafeteria, three weight rooms, firstly, football stadium, everything. And this would be a permanent housing to train these athletes, pro athletes, injured athletes. That's including football, basketball, and the next couple of weeks, I'm gonna sit and talk to you. I want to go see the facility. I just want to hear God. I don't know why God's doing it. All it took was somebody to save my name. Isn't that awesome? I don't know where this will lead. But I always told God, I always want to be part of athletics. You bring the church. Come to church with me. But I know I'm sick. I'm here. You will provide facility. It's fine. Adore. 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 It may not even be happening yet. Somebody could just talk, but it just could be a door. So he'll come tell you what happened. He's brother. Because it's opportunities to make things happen. This is about blessing us. My time. The first quarter, first minute, I'm gone. And Coleman is down. He's gonna go